What's good? It's your boy Fanon. So, man, it looks like this thing is about a wrap with Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez rematch May 5th, Cinco de Mayo in Las Vegas. A report came out, I believe it was this morning. It might have came out yesterday. The actual interview might have happened yesterday. But the president of the WBC said that he thinks that he can't see how this fight is going to go ahead. So, you know, it looks like it's dead. Now, I did a video before last week where I went through what the process was for the Nevada State Athletic Commission and how I thought with the timing of the stuff for the Nevada State Athletic Commission that I didn't see how the fight was going to be able to continue. Because if Canelo Alvarez, regardless of what approach that Canelo Alvarez makes in that particular hearing, I don't think that it's really going to, I just don't think there's enough time to do anything otherwise. But before I get into that, I'm definitely going to do a live stream later today. Please, I hope that you accept my invitation to participate in the live streams. The best way to do that is to hit the bell icon and subscribe. Well, subscribe and hit the bell icon. And also to people that say that there are a lot of people who come to my channel and say that they're not getting their notifications. Make sure that you check the bell icon, and when you do it, make sure that you look for the option of receive all notifications. Otherwise, you're just going to get them occasionally. So make sure that when you look and you hit the bell icon, that you make sure that you get all of the notifications, not just, and that it's not set on, that you get them occasionally. And I think that might be the answer to some of the people's questions about not getting the notifications. But that said, now please hit the notification bell. And that way, you can participate in the live stream. We have a lot of people, very mature boxing fans and knowledgeable boxing fans. And honestly, as of late, some very influential boxing fans. Shout out to my man that came to the chat. We'll keep it I was honored at your presence. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. But if you guys hit that, then you can participate in it. Now, let me go through what was said. And then I'm telling you, man, I think this could have real ramifications for Golden Boy Promotions, because their two top guys both might have taken very big L's in the month of May. That being Canelo Alvarez and Jorge Linares. But the title of the article is "The WBC President. I don't see how Canelo Alvarez GGG can be saved. It died." The World Boxing Council President Mauricio Suleiman believes the anticipated rematch between Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez is a lost cause. At the moment, Golovkin, 37-0-1 with 33 KOs, is still scheduled to defend his WBA, IBF, IBO, WBC middleweight titles against Canelo Alvarez on May 5th from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. The match is now in serious jeopardy of being canceled. Back in February, Canelo tested positive for the banned substance Cumbuterol in 2 separate drug tests. Then, in March, Canelo was temporarily suspended by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. And then last Thursday, the Nevada State Athletic Commission filed an official complaint against Canelo and pushed back his hearing from April 10th to April 18th. The Nevada State Athletic Commission's complaint, the commission will seek suspension of Canelo, which is ranging from 9 to 24 months. The typical ban for a first offense is 1 year, and there's a possibility Canelo could get that cut in half. Canelo and his team have claimed that food contamination was the direct cause for the positive test. They plan to provide evidence at the hearing. Suleiman, who had his sanctioning body create a special belt for the fight, was hopeful that it would still go forward as planned. After the Nevada State Athletic Commission's recent move, he believed the contest will not take place, at least not on May 5th as intended. In my opinion, the fight on May 5th has died. The hearing in Vegas is still pending, and then they moved it to the 18th of April. I do not see how it could be saved for them to fight on May 5th, Suleiman told ESPN Deportes. The two fighters first collided in last September, also at T-Mobile Arena, and fought to a controversial 12-round split draw. If the contest is canceled, Golovkin is aiming to move forward on May 5th against another opponent. Man, that's just, yeah, that's what I said in the other video. Now, I'm not quite sure how if the statute calls for a violation to be suspension to be 9 months to 24 months, and if their first offender's typical suspension is a year, I'm not sure. I didn't read anywhere that where he could get that cut in half to 6 months, unless they say the suspension began in April, or whenever they first initially started that suspension and they backdated. But 9 months, 6 months, whatever it is, this is a stain on. This is a big hit to Golden Boy, and this is a big hit to Canelo Alvarez, because now his reputation is shot. A lot of other people had said it. I mean, I'm a Canelo Alvarez. I like Canelo Alvarez. I think he's a tremendous fighter. I enjoy watching his fights. I enjoy, the skill that he has in the ring. And to see him go down like this is not, it's not a fun thing for me. I wish this thing had not happened. And to this extent, if this is a case of tainted meat, which I have a hard time believing, just off what I've heard, then, it's a shame that this happened to him, and it was he made a bad decision eating some tainted meat. I don't believe that. I don't have any proof to that effect. It just seems to me that somebody with that much money, who's already knows that there is that there's a likelihood of that you eating beef in Mexico, that you could test positive or you could fall victim to eating tainted meat, for him not to take those precautions and make sure that that's not the case. It's iffy to me, giving him the best. It's iffy at best. You know what I mean? It's iffy at best. If at best, it's highly negligent. And if he's that negligent, then he needs to be punished, if not for what he did, but just for the fact that people have to understand that the regulation says, whether you do it intentionally or otherwise, you allowed that to enter your body. You made a decision that allowed that performance enhancing or that banned substance to enter your body. So he deserves the suspension. And I'm honestly, when the WBC and the WBA first came out with their penalties, well, not actually their penalty, but their response to this, where they said the WBA and the WBC both said that they believed that Canelo Alvarez was innocent, that they stood behind Canelo Alvarez, that they thought that this was just a mistake, and they did that whole rigmarole. I thought that was a bad look for boxing, and even if that was the case, that's going to deliver a very bad message to guys who do want to cheat, because there are cheaters in boxing, without a doubt. You have Antonio Margarito padding, with plaster of Paris in his gloves. Now, Antonio Margarito could have said, "Hey, I didn't know that was plaster. I didn't, it was just harder. I didn't really notice. My trainer wraps my hands. I had no idea that it was turning into cement, and I hit this guy." But that doesn't save Miguel Cotto's face. You know what I mean? And if you allow somebody to get away with that excuse, then the next guy, you got to let them get away with that excuse as well. And the more high profile a person it is, the more important it is to make an example out of the situation. Now, what this means for Oscar De La Hoya on the other side, man, I have no sympathy, because I'm not a fan of all the foolishness that's been going on with Golden Boy for a long time. Not not the mismatched cards, the email, that suspect email that he never went out of his way to apologize for, and at least let it be known that that type of activity wasn't accepted in it wasn't acceptable in his company. To just the, I mean, I could go on and on about Oscar De La Hoya, but this is a dangerous thing for Canelo Alvarez, for Oscar De La Hoya, because his two main guys, the two main guys at Golden Boy Promotions, they're both supposed to fight in May. This is supposed to be a big month financially for Oscar De La Hoya. Now Oscar De La Hoya is looking at a situation where he could lose both of his top guys in the same month. You have a situation where Canelo Alvarez could be gone for as much as 23 months. Some people are saying it could be a year. I wouldn't doubt that it would be a year. I wouldn't doubt that some way they could find him to be gone for 6 months. But his reputation is never going to recover. Because it's such a high-profile drug bust. You know what I mean? That it's just, I just don't see how he can recover from this. And if he goes in, and if he is really using, and like I said, all I know is that he tested positive for sure. I can't go into whether he was whether he's cheating fights before, or, what Paulie Malignaggi said about how if you didn't think that he was on this before, you're stupid, or I don't think he's called stupid. He might have been saying you're crazy or you're naive, but whatever the case is, even Eddie Hearn said that he had suspected this of Canelo Alvarez leading into the weigh-in before the first Gennady Golovkin fight. I can't get into all of that because I do not know. I have reason to believe, since he just tested positive, that was the case, and that's a reasonable inference. So I'm not going to have any beef with them. However, you have to acknowledge that this is going to be on this guy's record forever. And it's not going to be, you can't be the face of boxing. I mean, this is the top money drawer in boxing. This is Golden Boy's golden goose. And Jorge Linares is not a golden goose, but he's the second highest profile boxer that Golden Boy has that I can think of. I know that they're trying to bring along Ryan Garcia, but that's a long way off. That's a couple years off. And Jorge Linares very well could be losing this fight to Vasyl Lomachenko. So it's just thinking that it's ironic that on, Oscar De La Hoya cutting his deal with Top Rank to let Jorge Linares in there with Lomachenko really might be the nail in the coffin of Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions. And I think that's the case. And this is something I'm actually liking about boxing right now. I'm telling you, man, this is one of the things that the PBC caused. And is that there are no deep rosters for any major promoter. In the United States, for sure, there's no deep rosters. You only go, of all the major promoters, as far as their top level fighters, Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy go 2 fighters deep. I'm sure maybe somebody can point out somebody other than Canelo Alvarez and Jorge Linares, but that's even a big drop between number 1 and number 2. From what I can see, there's only Golden Boy, really, as far as their marquee dudes, are only 2 fighters deep. Top Rank is only 2 fighters deep. Canelo Alvarez, or 3 fight. Well, it depends on whether or not Manny Pacquiao's there or not. But if you include Manny Pacquiao, you only have Manny Pacquiao, Terrence Crawford, and Vasyl Lomachenko. And Manny Pacquiao's on his way out the door. If he's not already out the door, he's 1 fight left to it, and then he's out the door. And Golden Boy's on a network that's not doing anything. That's not really interested in boxing, not really putting money behind big fights. And then you have ESPN, who, you know, is dabbling in boxing, but they're not really putting a lot of money behind it. That, from what I understand, that deal is not very, and I've gone through the numbers in other videos. That's just not a very lucrative deal for ESPN. I mean, for Top Rank at ESPN. And then the other main promoter that you have Kathy Duva. Kathy Duva is sitting on whatever. I mean, she's not even one deep. You know what I'm saying? She's not even one deep. You have Eddie Hearn in the UK, and I think he's probably very solid on the domestic side. But as far as like the top level guys, I think he's one. He's got one top level guy in Anthony Joshua, and then his second guy is probably is it Tony Bellew? I don't. Is Tony Bellew passed up? Is Dillian White passed up Tony Bellew? I'm not quite sure he has, but he's trying to build that, you know. And then you have Frank Warren, and I'm not really sure if Frank Warren has anybody that's really, you know, at the top level right now. But you have the PBC though, and the PBC is got. They're not a promotional aspect, but they've got Deontay Wilder, they've got Errol Spence, they got Keith Thurman, they've got Danny Garcia, they've got as long as he lasts, they got Adrian Bronner. You have that's 5 top level guys there, and I'm pretty sure that I'm missing somebody. Oh, also, if it works out for I also could throw Danny Jacobs in there for Matchroom, but also you have Charlo, and I forgot you got Jermell Charlo, you got Jamal Charlo, Errol Spence Jr., Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Adrian Bronner, Deontay Wilder. All of those guys. Actually, they got Carl Frampton. I'm not sure if Carl Frampton is both Frank Warren and he's PBC. I'm not sure what that is though, man. But you know, I just find it very ironic that guys that were constantly looking at how the PBC were going out of business are out now looking as if they got one foot in the grave. Now, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, you know, they've got a very big product, and they're making right now, I suspect that they're doing very well financially. I still don't see how paying Anthony Joshua the money that they're paying him makes sense with the money that is being made on those fights, you know. And we'll see what the numbers are. Actually, we should see the numbers pretty soon out of the UK on their pay-per-view. We should also see what the gate was and all that. They report that stuff pretty quickly. But, you know, if Anthony Joshua loses, it's a wrap. Or it's a wrap until they can build somebody up. You know? So, you know, it is what it is, man. But as far as Oscar De La Hoya goes, man, I'm telling you, it's looking really tough, man. And another problem that Oscar De La Hoya has is that Oscar De La Hoya really doesn't have a very good reputation with boxers. So in the United States, where he really does his work, you have the major fighters, the major marketable fighters that have affirmatively said they don't want to sign with him. Right? Deontay Wilder doesn't want a promoter, and a fight in, fight out promoter. Even though Lou DiBella is the guy that does most of the work with him. Right? You have Errol Spence Jr. that says that he's not going with Golden Boy, and so the irony of this thing is that, man, if Oscar De La Hoya hadn't been just a jackass asleep at the wheel, all of these fighters used to be Oscar De La Hoya fighters. All of them. Every one of these guys in the PBC used to be with Oscar De La Hoya. And the only guy that stuck with him through that transition, right? Because you got to remember, too, that Canelo Alvarez used to be on Showtime. And he fought on the undercard and in the co-main events of cards on Showtime, with Al Heyman working to organize that fight. Canelo Alvarez stayed loyal or stayed sneaky any way you want to work with it with Oscar De La Hoya. That's the one major guy that Oscar De La Hoya kept, and now he's popped. Now he's gone, or if he's not gone, he's wounded. Right now, maybe there's a big section of fans that won't care, that'll still tune in to watch him, that'll understand it and do all that. But at least for May, hey man, that doesn't look very good. So, we'll see what it is. Like I said, I didn't see this fight with Oscar De La Hoya, with Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin coming through because of the timing of the hearings and all that, just really doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem like they'll have enough time to correct that. But maybe they'll move on to November time frame, and then people will go for the fight then. But with that, I'm out. Peace.